I never expected my daughter's new house to hold such a heartbreaking secret. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air felt thick, heavy with a tension that prickled my skin, as I stood before the peeling paint of the old Victorian. It loomed over me, dark and twisted, like a guardian of buried sorrows, drawing me closer to its haunting embrace. She had always dreamed of a home like this: bubblegum pink shutters, an attic with mysterious nooks, potential waiting beneath the surface. The excitement in her voice when she first described the place had sent my heart soaring, a promise of hope in a world that seemed to crush dreams one by one. But standing there now, I felt a tremor run through me. Something felt off. The day had started with laughter, the sound echoing in the corners of that beautiful chaos as we unpacked boxes. But as the sun dipped low, the shadows grew longer, creeping in like a predator. That's when I noticed a door leading to the cellar, slightly ajar, the wooden frame warped as if it had secrets too monstrous to contain. My fingers trembled as I pushed the door open further. A heavy, damp chill wafted out, wrapping around me like a shroud. The air was thick with a musty odor, something old. It sent a shiver racing down my spine. I shone my phone's flashlight into the abyss, and my heart stopped. The walls were plastered with newspaper clippings, yellowed with age. Headlines screamed out to me: mysterious disappearances in Riverside and local youth found mysteriously abandoned. Each clipping chronicled stories that chilled my blood. Beneath the layers of dust, I could barely make out names and faces, petrified in time. Who were these people? I felt caught in their despair, a tingling sensation creeping up my arms. It was like they were reaching out, desperate to be heard, to have their stories told. My hand shook as I pulled one clipping down. A photograph stung my eyes: a girl who looked just like my daughter. Same hair, same smile. Mom! Her voice broke through my thoughts, raw and frantic. I spun around, heart pounding, my chest tight with fear. In my head, 1,000 questions spiraled. Had she seen it too? Did she know? I was drowning in the whirlwind of emotion, the weight of the moment crushing me. What's wrong? She asked, a deep worry lining her brow. I wanted to turn and tell her everything would be fine. I wanted to protect her from whatever darkness loomed in this house. But the fear still coursed through me, making it hard to breathe. That I stepped forward, desperate to shield her from what I had just discovered, urge rising in my throat. The newspaper felt heavy in my hands, a burden I was not sure I could bear alone. I just found something. The silence thickened as I held her gaze, searching for the right words, but all I could see was that haunting photo. Would she understand? Would it twist our lives into something unrecognizable? I could feel her coming closer, but fear flickered in my heart. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted something moving in the shadows of the cellar, an outline, shifting, amorphous. Panic surged through me, and I shot back a sharp breath. Was I losing my mind? Or was I seeing the remnants of what haunted this house? Mom! What is it? Her voice cracked, echoing my own tremors. I could see the worry in her eyes, blending with curiosity. But the weight of the cellar's darkness pressed down on us like a vice. That I took another step forward, summoned by some unholy force, eager, yet terrified. Every heartbeat echoed inside my head, but I felt drawn to the unknown. A choice loomed before me, a path leading deeper into the dread. But then, a chill filled the air, and I knew. Something terrible lay within this house, pulsing like a living thing. And that's when I heard it. A soft whisper, ghostly and lost. Help me! What had my daughter stepped into? What had I invited us into? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As my daughter stepped closer, a new fear gripped me. The whisper, soft yet piercing, echoed through the recesses of the dark cellar, tugging at something deep within my chest. Her eyes darted around, fear mingling with confusion, and in that instant, I wanted nothing more than to erase the storm of terror brewing in her heart. "Mom, what is that?" she asked, her voice trembling almost as much as her hands that I barely heard her over the cacophony of my thoughts. Each whisper from the shadows felt like a threat, like a call to arms against an unidentified enemy. I lifted the newspaper in my hand as a shield, though I knew it offered no protection against the horror lurking at the edges of my mind, but perhaps the greatest horror was the precarious balance of trust between us. I could see the threads of our bond, once so vibrant, now beginning to fray under the strain of my silence. "It's there's just," I stammered, willing myself to find the right combination of words to break the spell. "We need to leave this place, sweetheart. Something is wrong here." As I turned to pull her back to the safety of natural light, a flicker caught my eye. Against the wall, a face emerged within the shadows. It was shadowy and indistinct, but a flicker of recognition froze my breath. It was almost like, but before I could process it, the shape melted away into the dark, and I was left bereft, clutching at the air where it had been, the weight of my heart pressed down harder, a reminder of the stories that thrummed beneath us, entwining my daughter's fate with that of those lost souls. "Mom, please," she urged, her voice tight with an urgency that mirrored my own. "What did you find? What's happening?" I felt my heart clench as I searched her eyes for something like hope. The words hung between us, wrapped in the fears I couldn't voice. I would say something, anything to shield her, but I was at war within myself. She deserved clarity, not the fog of my deteriorating sanity. Just then, a soft creak echoed throughout the cellar, a response to our hesitation, reminding me of the space around us, inhospitable and cold. With a resolve born from desperation, I laid the newspaper down, trembling as the fingertips grazed over the name of the girl in the picture, one of the missing. This girl, she. Before I could finish my thought, a flash of light danced across the surface of my phone. It flickered for a moment as if reflecting the remnants of what we once knew, the joy of moving in, unearthing possibilities, building a new life before plunging us back into darkness once again. "Mom!" my daughter yelped, her voice scaled high with panic. "Let's get out of here." But even as I nodded, something the intensity of my daughter's fear made it clear we couldn't just walk away. My heart felt like lead in my chest, heavy and immovable. Taking her hand, we turned toward the stairs, each creak beneath our feet sounding like a chime heralding our escape. Yet as we stepped up free of that suffocating darkness, I swore I heard laughter, a hollow, echoing sound that chased us like a ghost desperate to cling to the only warmth it had known. The living room greeted us with the remnants of the day, sunlight streaming through the windows, warming the space that felt so removed from the cellar's terror. Yet the laugh lingered still, ghostly echoes entwined with our laughter from earlier. How could something so sinister exist so close to our hopeful beginnings? The moments that followed felt surreal. There was silence, a deceptive tranquility, as we regrouped, adjusting to the brightness of the world outside the cellar. "Did you see her?" My daughter's voice trembled as she flinched, an echo of the horror in my heart surfacing in her own. "That girl, it looked like me." I swallowed the lump in my throat, squeezing her hand tighter. "It was nothing but a shadow." "Just shadows," I said, but I could see the doubt written across her face. And inside me blossomed a fear deeper than I had ever known, a realization of fragility. Could my daughter be tied to those who had vanished before us? Then a light tapping at the door broke the silence, so delicate it seemed ethereal. My breath caught as I glanced at my daughter, a cold dread settling in the pit of my stomach. "Who could that be?" she whispered, eyes wide with trepidation. That I had no answer for her, my pulse racing as I felt the weight of the unknown bearing down on us again. "Stay here," I whispered, taking a deep breath and moving cautiously toward the door. With each step, my mind received 1,000 scenarios played out before me, all with one painful conclusion, that I hesitated at the door's edge, hand lingering above the handle, knowing it could either lead us to safety or plunge us deeper into the abyss. One more moment, just one more, and I could open the door to reveal a new chapter, or a doorway to the horrors buried beneath our feet. But what if it brought us more questions than answers? I inhaled sharply and pulled the door open, ready to confront whatever lay beyond, prepared for the face of a loved one, or the specter of anguish long hidden. What emerged was unlike anything I could have prepared for. A figure stood there, cloaked in familiarity yet shadowed by long-buried secrets. "Help me," the figure pleaded, and the voice hitched my breath because it was hers. The words echoed around me like a bell tolling a final warning. My heart raced, and the world twisted around me in a kaleidoscope of emotions. The figure stood in the doorway, cloaked as if a fog had settled around her. It was my daughter's voice, but the figure's form was much older, more worn. For a moment, I thought I might faint. "Help me," she said again, but there was an urgency, a depth to the plea that sent shivers down my spine. It was as if two lives had collided in one body, threading a complex tapestry of fear and longing. I was about to reach out, to grab her and pull her into the safety of our home, when my daughter shifted nervously behind me, the realization dawning on her like an ominous storm. "Who is that?" she whispered, voice trembling with incredulity. "What are you doing here?" The figure's gaze, soft yet filled with an unyielding weight, surveyed us. I am here because you both need to know," she stuttered, as if the act of speaking risked unraveling her very existence. "You don't understand what's been kept from you." That I didn't know whether to hold my ground or pull my daughter back from the threshold of uncertainty. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice almost a whisper, fear amplifying my words. "What do you mean, what's been kept from us? The house site holds secrets," she said, stepping forward into the sunlight but still shrouded in a shadow that clung to her like a warning. "The girl in the picturesque part of your story now. You can't run from it." My heart skidded to a halt. The picture, the very one that had tethered me to a feeling I couldn't shake. "What does that even mean?" I asked, uncertainty giving way to frustration. She closed her eyes tightly, like a ship bracing for a storm. "You couldn't remember because you weren't meant to. But the threads of this house weave through your lives, binding you to the past. The girl, she's your sister. You have to help her." Panic flared inside me. "What sister? I don't have a sister." I felt my denial break upon the weight of a world I had never known, a world imbued with loss, tethered to a family I had believed was whole, but the figure's eyes bore into me, a thrum of recognition stinging. "You do. You just don't remember. Not yet. But you will, and the time is coming." Beside me, my daughter instinctively took a step back, her eyes darting between this figure and me. "Mom," she whimpered, fear now a living thing between us. In a flash, the threads of my own past started unraveling. Memories flickered like burned-out light bulbs, a laughing girl in the yard, a promise made under the shade of an oak tree, the echoes of a lullaby that had slipped away on the winds of time. "She can't be my sister," I whispered, my voice shaky. "I would know." "That's what the house does," she whispered softly, stepping forward. "It hides the truth within the shadows. But it also offers a chance. You can still save her." With her words, a sudden vulnerability washed over me, an aching need to protect the little girl I never knew but who must have been a part of my life at some point. A shudder of hope intertwined with dread threatened to swallow me whole. "What do we have to do?" I asked, bravely confronting the uncertainty that tightened around my heart. Before she could answer, the world around us shifted. The door creaked under an invisible force, and the shadows around the figure deepened, causing her features to blur like a reflection in a disturbed pond. "Trust your instincts," she said, the voice warping in the weight of the moment. "Find the hidden room beneath the stairs, but beware, there are forces that want to keep you away from the truth." I felt my daughter's hand tighten around mine as the air grew heavy with dark anticipation. The figure shivered, her form wavering like smoke in the wind. "Trust no one but yourselves," she implored, and with that, the shadows swept in, obscuring her from view. Stunned and bewildered, I faced my daughter, the fear and uncertainty hanging between us like a curtain. What if it's true?" she asked quietly, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Then we will find the truth together," I promised, though the tremble in my own voice betrayed the resolve I tried to convey. But deep down, a terrifying question lingered, gnawing at me: what if the truth was a darkness we could never escape? In that moment, all that lay ahead stretched dauntingly uncertain, shrouded in daunting mystery and fear. With our hearts a trembling anchor, we turned to the stairs, each step forward echoing with weighty consequence and inevitable confrontation with the shadows hidden just beneath the surface. As we reached the bottom, I paused, a chill running through me as the air thickened, and whispered once more. For the first time, I had the faint sensation of being watched not just by unseen forces, but by long-lost kin whose fate remained entwined with our own, bound to the secrets of a family torn apart and swimming through the deep waters of memory. And for better or worse, we were about to dive in. Descending the last stair into the dimly lit space beneath, I felt a shiver creep along my spine, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for us to unveil the truths hidden in its depths. My daughter clung to my side, her face pale but resolute, and for the briefest moment, I allowed myself to believe we might face whatever lay ahead together, fortified by an unspoken bond that transcended even the weight of our shared fear. The air was thick with the scent of dust and damp wood, an aroma that beckoned memories I had never lived, draping the room in an eerie cloak of nostalgia. As my eyes adjusted to the dimness, I noticed a small door on the far wall, slightly ajar, as if inviting us to step into the unknown. I felt a tremor of trepidation, mingled with the thrill of the hunt for the truth. "Mom," my daughter whispered, her voice wavering with uncertainty, do you think there's something in there?" I nodded, though the truth was that I was not sure if I had the strength to find out. "We need to find out. Whatever is hidden might help us understand everything," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. As we approached the door, I felt an unsettling pull in my chest, a tugging sensation that resonated with the figure's last words. "Trust your instincts." I hesitated, clenched my jaw, and reached for the doorknob. It felt cold beneath my fingers, a stark reminder of how deeply buried our family's truths remained. Suddenly, a piercing scream broke through the silence like shattering glass, echoing from the room beyond. My heart dropped, and before I could process it, my daughter jerked backward, pressing against me. "What was that?" she gasped, eyes wide with terror. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart hammering painfully against my ribs. "But we can't turn back now." Taking a deep breath, I flung open the door. It creaked ominously, revealing a narrow corridor lined with tarnished photographs hanging oddly askew, a haphazard gallery that chronicled a life I had never known. Each portrait, a stark reminder of something lost or something forged in silence. An unsettling chill danced down my spine. I scanned the remnants of a forgotten life, and gasped. There, in a gilded frame, the familiar features of the girl from the picture stared back at me, her smiling visage alight with a joy that felt almost dissonant amidst the shadows. But it was not just her. Woven among the images were countless faces, faces that mirrored my own in various stages of life, each one a reflection of a past that I desperately yearned to reclaim. "Mom, look!" my daughter exclaimed, pointing to a photograph on the wall. I leaned closer and realized it depicted a moment frozen in time as a child, laughing in the arms of a woman I did not recognize but felt inexplicably drawn to. The bond was tangible, I could feel it settling into the aching hollow in my heart. As I stood there, an overwhelming wave of emotion washed over me. I felt lost and found, and yet, every heartbeat reverberated with the knowledge that something was terribly wrong. The girl's laughter morphed into a cacophony of cries that overwhelmed my senses, a chorus from beyond the veil, calling out to me, "Mom, what's happening?" My daughter cried, her voice quaking with alarm. This isn't right," I stammered, the air thickening as shadows began to pulse at the corners of the room, flickering as if alive. "We need to get out. We shouldn't be here." But as I turned to leave, the door slammed shut with a resounding thud behind us, plunging the corridor into an oppressive silence. The photographs began to sway as if caught in a gentle breeze, creating a haunting symphony of whispers that danced around us. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins, igniting every instinct to fight or flee. Then, from the shadows, a soft voice emerged, resonating through the stillness like a gentle promise. "You can't run from what you have lost. Come closer, and I will help you remember." "Who are you?" I asked, fear coursing through me as I instinctively pulled my daughter closer, shielding her with my body. Just a keeper of memories, the voice replied, smooth like silk, but tinged with an undercurrent of sorrow. Your sister needs you, more than you know. You must embrace the truth or let it consume you. That I didn't know how to respond, trapped between the haunting allure of that voice and the protective instinct for my daughter. We're not ready, I whispered, my resolve slowly crumbling. Then an even greater darkness will come, it replied, a tangible weight to its words. The choice is yours. Either remember or accept that you may lose everything you hold dear. With that, the photographs emitted a low hum as the images began to shift and swirl, converging into a singular vision that encased my mind like a shroud, a girl, lost yet hopeful, a beacon I never knew I had rejected. I can help you, the voice persisted, lingering in the air like a promise laden with longing. I just need you to listen. Just as I took a step toward the light of a truth that begged to be unearthed, a loud crash suddenly shook the very foundations of the house, snapping me back to reality with a jolt. My daughter's scream rang clear as the shadows pressed in around us like an encroaching tide, intent on dragging us under. What was that? She shrieked, her panic igniting the fear in my chest anew. Before I could answer, the world faded, the images vanished, and I was left standing alone in the suffocating darkness, grasping at the threads of an unraveling tapestry while a soul-chilling thought coursed through my mind. Time was running out, and I could feel the darkness lurking, waiting to claim us both. The darkness around us thickened, as if the shadows themselves were sentient, reaching for the warmth of our bodies with icy tendrils. I clutched my daughter tighter, her heart beat a frantic drum against my side, even as the weight of impending dread pressed down on us. The last echoes of crashing debris still lingered in the air, a stark reminder of how quickly our lives had spiraled into chaos. Mom, we have to get out, she whimpered, her voice trembling like a fragile bird caught in a storm. I know, I rasped, squinting against the oppressive gloom. My heart raced at the thought of facing whatever unseen threat lurked just beyond our reach. I took a step back, hoping the door would swing open again, but it remained resolutely shut, as if it too feared what lay awaiting us in the outside world. Mom, what if that voice was right? What if we have to remember? My daughter's voice quavered, blending uncertainty with an emotional plea I couldn't ignore. I don't know, I confessed, the admission stinging my tongue like salt. But whatever it is, it's pulling us apart. In that moment, I felt the deep-seated sadness crash against me like a runaway wave. There was no denying it, something within was begging to be pieced together, even if every fiber of my being screamed for escape. Before I could collect my thoughts, the corridor seemed to breathe in, the weight of the house shifting about us. A low dim glow began to filter through the walls, distant yet beckoning, igniting a flickering ember of hope within me. Maybe it isn't the end, I whispered, half trying to convince myself as much as my daughter. Maybe it's the beginning. As we stepped forward together, drawn towards that glow, the figures in the photographs flickered back into focus, but this time, their expressions reflected anguish. Each mouth formed into a silent scream, each eye filled with a haunting betrayal. I felt the tendrils of fear tightening around my throat, but I pressed onward, determined to uncover whatever threads remained intact. Do you think if we remember, everything will change? She asked softly, breaking through my reverie. I hesitated, wrestling with her question. I don't know, but that voice said your sister needed me. Maybe it's all connected. Suddenly, the air shifted, and from the darkness emerged the figure of a woman, ethereal and shimmering, her features framed by silvery tendrils of light. She bore an uncanny resemblance to the woman in the photograph from before. Her smile was radiant yet draped in sorrow. Help me, she pleaded, her voice breaking like splintered glass. I can't find her, please. You have to uncover the truth. Who are you? I gasped, shock coursing through me like electricity. The apparition's face twisted in a myriad of emotions, grief mingling with something almost akin to hope. I am the memory you've buried. The truth that you have denied all these years. Your sister, she's lost. You must help her before it's too late. No, we can't, I stammered, panic clawing up my throat. The pressure around us seemed to thicken, swaying with the weight of revelations untold. My daughter shivered in fear beside me, and I felt her urge to flee mirrored within my own heart. But my pulse raced despite the terror. What if finding the truth could save us? Just as I was about to reach towards the glowing figure, the walls shook violently again, farther shook by the unseen hand of fear that draped over the house. My daughter's scream pierced the air once more as the apparition splintered into 1,000 flickering lights, casting grotesque shadows that engulfed our surroundings. "Mom! It's too much!" she cried, her voice now raw with desperation. With each flicker, I caught glimpses of the disturbing history we had, obscured visions of laughter sprawling into sorrow, family moments fractured into unspeakable pain. Each memory ripped like fabric, fraying at the seams, unraveling the very foundation of everything I believed to be true. A sudden realization gripped me like a vice: we were running out of time. The darkness surged, propelled by the tidal wave of spirits. Trapped in this liminal space, and I felt it pressing in, desperate for release. "Stay close," I urged my daughter, fear stitching tighter around my heart. "We will find a way together." It was a promise that felt tenuous at best, but as we moved toward the last glow emanating from a distant doorway, I could feel the weight of our shared history pulling us forward, urging us to confront what lay ahead. As we crossed the threshold, the air burst into a kaleidoscope of memories. Shattered whispers and haunting shadows danced around us, weaving together a tapestry riddled with gaps and unknowns. I gripped my daughter's hand tighter, bracing ourselves for the truth that awaited. The shimmering light expanded, revealing a room that felt both familiar and foreign, an altar of secrets begging to be unveiled. And there, in the foreboding silence, lay an object on the floor, a small, dust-covered locket, glinting in the light, containing within it echoes from a time frozen in our very souls. But just as I reached down to pick it up, a chilling voice shattered the silence once more, hollow and broken, a whisper skimming across my skin. "Don't look for her unless you're ready to lose everything." The world twisted, and time itself seemed to grind to a halt as I flinched, caught in a moment that felt infinite. My heart pounded violently as I realized the stakes of this path, the weight of a revelation so heavy, it could very well unravel what remained of my lineage. I took a step back, my breath caught in my throat, and felt my daughter's grip shift in alarm, the ground beneath us trembling, and in that moment, I knew, embracing the truth might not just put us at risk, it could cost us everything we had left. As the words echoed around us, wrapping tendrils of dread around my heart, I stood frozen at the precipice of choice. The locket, a seemingly innocent trinket, shimmered under the harsh light, but its allure felt tainted with foreboding. My mind raced with questions, each one more urgent than the last. Was this object the key to unlocking the mystery surrounding my sister? Or was it a noose tightening around our already fragile existence? "Mom." My daughter's voice trembled gently, a whisper laced with both fear and anticipation. "What if the locket is a way to find her?" I could see the hope shimmering in her eyes, but it felt like a fragile bubble in the depths of a storm. "But what if it isn't? What if it draws us deeper into danger?" My voice cracked under the weight of uncertainty. The thought of losing her, of dragging her into darkness alongside me, made my heart surge with instinctual fear. "Please, let's just look at it," she urged, her grip tightening around my fingers, and something within me softened, brushing aside dread for the flicker of a mother's instinct to protect and nurture. With hesitant determination, I knelt before the locket, my heart pounding in rhythm with memories long buried. Its intricate design was ornate yet simply heart entwined with symbols I half recognized from distant memories. I reached out, fingertips brushing the cold metal, and a sudden rush of warmth coursed through me, as if the locket was awakening whispers from inside my own heart, coaxing truths long overlooked. Just as I lifted it from the dust, a surge of energy enveloped the room. Puffs of air whipped around us, dragging coldness that suddenly felt like fingers grasping at our warmth. The walls writhed with shadows, pulsating as though the very air recoiled at our intention to disturb the sleeping secrets. "Maybe we shouldn't," my daughter's breath hitched, sensing the shift. "No, we must," I replied, courage and fear wrestled within me. I needed to unveil the truth behind this legacy of shadows, for her sake, for my sister's. With the locket in hand, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history pressing down on my shoulders. As I opened it, the delicate click sounded loud in the pulse of silence, and an ethereal glow emerged, revealing a grainy, familiar photograph nestled within. It showed 3 little girls, arms linked together, caught in a moment of innocent laughter. My heart plummeted. There she was, my sister, and the shot radiated joy that felt almost palpable amidst this haunted space. Yet the edges of the photograph were frayed, hints of tears staining the corners, and the happiness caught in that moment felt like a taunt. Then, beneath the photograph lay an inscription, penned in a script that sent chills down my spine: always find your way back to the light, but know the dark has its own heartbeat. What does it mean? My daughter leaned closer, the weight of its meaning crushing the air around us. I don't know, I admitted, my voice trembling. The shift in energy morphed again, teasing the air as if a lurking presence awaited our response. Suddenly, shadows in the corners of the room began to coalesce, morphing into faces, those same anguished expressions from the photographs, now alive, begging for acknowledgement. The whispers filled the air, rising from the ground, melding into a cacophony resonating with grief and yearning. Help us! They cried in unison, their voices layered with an urgency that sent shivers rippling down my spine. You must remember. Instinctively, I took a step back, pulling my daughter closer. This isn't right, they can't be real. But even as I spoke the words, a nagging part of me recognized the truth in their haunting pleas. I could feel lost threads of my own history, echoes of those I loved, entwined in this nightmarish web of anguish. Each face mirrored pain I recognized on a profound level. These were not just phantoms, they were pieces of me, fragments of a story I had long buried to shield my daughter from the scars of our past. Mom. My daughter's voice was near a whisper, threaded with caution. What do we do? The air grew dense, pressing as if the walls themselves anticipated my decision. I felt the weight shift in my chest, the locket pulled at my heart, its presence thrumming with urgency. This was it, this was the crossroads where shadows met, the chance for redemption that we have to remember, I murmured, more to myself than to her. What had once been a source of fear now bore the glint of possibility. Just then, a resounding crash echoed from the ceiling above us, shaking the very foundations of the house. Dust rained down in a flurry, and the shadows screamed a despairing roar that rattled the walls. Get back! I shouted, instinctively shielding my daughter, as a burst of freezing air engulfed us. The memory-laden whispers escalated, almost drowning out my thoughts. We're not alone, we have to. But before I could finish, the lights flickered violently, and the apparition of the woman re-emerged, a distorted visage of hope and despair woven together. He won't allow you to uncover the truth. She shrieked, her voice tearing through the cacophony as the room dimmed. Who? I managed, my heart racing, hoping beyond hope this time would be different, that perhaps she held the key to unraveling our family's darkness. He feeds off your fear. She warned, a tremor of urgency skimming across her shimmering form. To remember is to confront him, and you must be prepared to lose everything you hold dear. As the last remnants of her words hung in the air, shadows rushed toward us, swirling with fury, revealing faces filled with pain as if daring me to embody the darkest parts of our existence. Just as I felt the pressure closing in like a vice, my daughter's small, frightened voice broke through the chaos. Mom! We can stop this. We will find her. Her unyielded courage pierced the fog of dread that enveloped me. But just as I opened my mouth to agree, darkness surged with raw power, and an overwhelming wind howled through the room, pulling me toward an abyss of revelations waiting to be faced. In a moment of chilling clarity, I understood we weren't just being drawn into our past, we were standing on the edge of a revelation that could shatter us entirely. Hold on! I shouted, grasping her hand, but in that instant, the ground beneath us trembled once more, and I realized confronting the truth might mean more than losing our safety, it could pull apart the very threads of our lives. And then, as the echoes of laughter mixed with screams enveloped us, the world shifted abruptly and the light dimmed, sealing our fate. What awaited us on the other side was something I might never be prepared to face. The air thickened with shadows as the ground beneath us crumbled into a void of uncertainty. The darkness pulsated, alive with a resonant heartbeat that somehow felt familiar. My heart raced alongside the whispers of the lost echo of lives intertwined with my own, pleading for resolution, grasping for solace amid the chaos. Mom! My daughter's voice broke through the turmoil, steady and full of resolve. "We can't give in to the darkness." Her courage washed over me like a bomb, igniting a flicker of determination that had nearly been extinguished. "You're right," I replied, squeezing her hand tightly. "We can fight this." But as I spoke, tendrils of shadow surged around us, creeping closer, intertwining with the light that fought to shine through the onslaught of despair. Faces flashed before me, each one a ghost of the pasta sister I lost, a mother I buried deep in sorrow, friends carved from shared laughter and misadventures now twisted into remnants of heartache. "Stay strong," I urged, the weight of their memories lending strength to my resolve. "We're not giving in to you." The shadows howled, a cacophony that blurred the distinction between my thoughts and their cries imploring, urging me to remember. A violent gust of wind swept through the room, scattering dust and debris, clawing at our skin. I saw my daughter flinch beside me, but her eyes remained locked on mine, bright with a fierce light that sent shivers coursing through my veins. For a moment, I saw a glimpse of the future in that gazelle life filled with warmth and laughter, not bound by the haunting ghosts of our forebears. "Mom, we need to find the truth," she insisted, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around us. Her words were a lifeline weaving through the storm, unraveling threads of doubt. That I glanced back at the locket still in my grasp, its glow pulsating with a rhythm that seemed to synchronize with my heartbeat. "We have to confront them." "Confront what happened," I breathed, clenching my teeth against the encroaching dread. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if my words held power over them. Yet, they surged forward anew, a relentless tide determined to capture us within their depths. "You're too late," they hissed, a chorus of agony that rang through my bones. "You cannot change the past, but perhaps I could." My heart pounded with newfound resolve, and I released my daughter's hand just long enough to clutch the locket tightly against my chest. "We will change it," I declared defiantly. "We will find our way back." In response, the shadows writhed violently, pulses of anger erupting from the depths as whispered confessions filled the air. "You don't know what he wants. You don't know the cost," they shrieked, a wild storm of despair mingling with frustration. "Who?" My voice rose amid the madness, desperation creeping back in, emboldened by the fear that pulsed beneath their cries. "Who are you talking about?" But then clarity cracked through the shadowed visage of the room. A vision tore through my mind, a fragmented memory of a man with eyes that captured storms, someone I had thought my sister had escaped. The familiar agony mingled with the echoes of our past, revealing a truth I buried so deeply. "I'd almost forgotten that he knows you." A shadow snarled, its form twisting grotesquely. "He will claim everything you hold dear, everything you love." "No," my daughter cried, darting forward instinctively, drawing me into the very light flickering around us. "We won't let him." With a rush of courage, I lunged toward the swirling darkness, locket clutched tightly in hand as the air thickened. "You've claimed enough," I shouted, my voice fueled by anger and a mother's resolve. "We will not allow you to take her." A shocking jolt of energy erupted from the locket, illuminating the room in a celestial glow that clashed violently with the darkness. The shadows writhed and recoiled, caught off guard by the flare of light that filigreed the atmosphere, each shimmering ray slicing through pain and grief that clung to the walls like cobwebs. That I grasped onto that light, feeling its warmth seep into me, a lifeline, anchoring me against the chaos. "Remember," I commanded, eyes locked onto my daughter's. "We're here to uncover the truth." The shadows shrieked in rage, thrumming with malevolence, yet the light continued to shine, washing away the cold tendrils that tried to hold us back. "Find your way back to the light," I shouted again, rallying against the horrors that sought to trap us within despair. Then, just as the darkness recoiled once more, I felt its locket pulsed at my chest, resonating with a bond strung through generations. Familiar faces emerged before me, blurred yet vivid, as if reaching out through the veil, whispering stories I had silenced long ago. Among them, my sister's face came clear, luminous and bright, beckoning me near. "Please, remember us," she pleaded, her voice a soft echo, begging for the truth I was so afraid to confront. That I stepped forward, daring to close the distance, when suddenly the world around us erupted in a whirlwind of memories, a floodgate of laughter and tears, of secrets locked away beneath layers of hurt. But then, amid the cacophony of sound and sight, a shocking clarity struck me like lightning. "Mom." My daughter's voice pierced the maelstrom, pulling me back just in time. "Look out!" I snapped, my gaze to where she pointed, wide-eyed and rooted in horror. Shadows surged toward us, wrestling for possession, threatening to engulf her in a storm of rage and memories detritus. "No!" I screamed, but just as I lunged forward to shield her, a blinding flash erupted from the locket, throwing us apart in a cascade of light and shadow. "Remember." My sister's voice echoed in the chaos, mixing with my daughter's cries. Then, in an unexpected twist, a chilling laughter reverberated through the air, sharp and cutting. A figure emerged from the depths of the shadows, a silhouette of a man, his eyes glinting with the knowledge of our fears. "Welcome home," he sneered, raising a hand that crackled with darkness. And in that moment, with my daughter fumbling back in shock and horror mingling in the space around us, I realized I had awakened something ancient, something that sought not only to claim our memories but our very souls. "Mom!" she screamed, and I felt the ground tremble beneath my feet once more, the weight of the past surging to consume us. Everything we had fought for hung in the balance as the shadows beckoned us deeper into their embrace, and I understood then that confronting the darkness came at a cost one I was not prepared to pay. But in that moment, I took her hand once again, determined to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that the light we forged together shone brighter than any shadow that wished to claim us. Yet as the laughter faded into eerie silence, I could feel the pressure building in the air around us, foretelling an approaching storm. That revelation I had feared was no longer a mere possibility but an imminent truth waiting to be uncovered. And as we stood, trembling yet resolute, I knew deep in my soul that the battle for our destiny was only just beginning. The air remained heavy, pregnant with an unshakable tension that gnawed at the edges of my resolve. As the figure loomed larger, its malevolence palpable, I was acutely aware of how everything I had ever known rested precariously on the brink. My daughter, her breathing shallow and swift, clung to my side, her fingers digging into my arm as if anchoring herself to me against the tidal wave of despair. "What do you want?" I managed to spit out, my voice barely rising above the suffocating shadows that enveloped us. The laughter from the man echoed ominously as he stepped forward, blurring the lines between past and present. "I want what's yours, what you have hidden away for too long," he whispered, each syllable dripping with malice. "Your history is part of me, and I am ready to reclaim my TDM." My heart raced. I could almost feel the pulse of the locket against my skin, a reminder of everything I'd fought for. "You don't own us," I shouted defiantly, an act of rebellion against the dark tendrils reaching for us. "Don't I?" He gestured lazily, and suddenly the shadows writhed with purpose, swirling around us like a living entity. I felt their cold caress against my skin, profound and chilling, as fear gripped my heart. "Mom!" my daughter cried out, her voice a mix of terror and determination. She grasped the locket tightly, and I could see a flicker of hope igniting within her. "Whatever he's trying to take, well, stop him together." The man's expression twisted into a scowl, disdain curling his lips. "Oh, sweet child. You have no idea what lies buried in your family's history. What truths you will uncover, whether you're ready or not." He stepped closer, the shadows around his feet stretching ominously toward us. It struck me then the truth I'd worked so hard to bury slammed into me like a freight train. It was not just formality that linked us, it was unfinished business, darkness that had seeped into generations before us. My sister's face, her pleading eyes, echoed in the back of my mind. There was a reason she had sought to escape. I had to confront the past, but at what cost? As I hesitated, the man took another step forward, and the shadows snapped at our heels, desperate to drag us into oblivion. The light from the locket flickered, uncertain against the encroaching dark. "You will lose her too, just as you lost your sister," the man taunted, his voice laced with malicious glee. A surge of defiance sparked in my chest, fueled by the thought of my daughter. "You're wrong. I won't lose anyone else," I shouted, my voice reverberating with a strength I didn't know I possessed. "This is our fight, and we won't back down." With those words, I turned to my daughter, our eyes like a shared understanding blooming between us. Together. We face him together. As she nodded, I felt the locket begin to hum against my heart, resonating with an energy that seemed to fill the air. There was something ancient and profound about it, a connection that reached beyond the veil of our pain, binding us not just to our ancestors but to each other. Just as the shadows lunged forward, we clasped the locket together, a coalescence of light so potent it felt like the sun had materialized in a night full of despair. The darkness shrank away, writhing in protest as our luminance surged to meet it, but then, as we faced it, something in the man's demeanor shifted. His sneer slipped to something almost regretful. "You think this light will save you, don't you? You don't understand the sacrifice it demands." The shadows swirled faster, a storm of noise and chaos, drowning out his words. I glanced at the locket, and for a brief moment, I could see glimpses of faces from our family tree flaring to life within its glow, faces filled with joy, sorrow, love, and regret. I felt as if they were reaching out, urging me to remember the steps of unresolved history, leading up to this moment of choice. "Mom!" My daughter shouted, grabbing my hand tighter. "He's stalling. Focus." Desperate, I closed my eyes and conjured the memories of everything I had lost, everything I had tried to forget. The laughter, the warmth of family gatherings, the pain of goodbyes washed over me, and from those fragments, I forged a vision, a united front against the darkness. Suddenly, I sensed Ida telling flicker that passed between us, guiding my heart and hers towards a hidden truth. "We need to remember." I yelled over the storm, adding my voice to the memories around us, demanding the truth return, shrouded in pain yet illuminating the path forward. Then, just as the shadows recoiled, a deep rumble broke the tension. The ground beneath us quaked, throwing us off balance. "Enough!" The man roared, fury etched into his features as he pressed forward. "You think you can rewrite history? Each attempt will cost you dearly." Before I could respond, the shadows surged violently, pulling at my daughter with unrestrained ferocity. "Mom!" she screamed, twisting and struggling against their grasp. "No!" With desperation fueling my every instinct, I lunged toward her, but the shadows tugged harder, their whispering voices rising to a deafening crescendo. "Let her go!" I cried, my heart shattering at the sight of her fear. But before I could reach her, a blinding light erupted from the locket again, momentarily blinding me and causing the shadows to hiss in agony. When the light faded, time seemed to freeze. My daughter was free from the shadows, her clothes billowing as if a great wind had swept through. And in that instant, I glanced at the man, just as his face twisted into something unexpected. A flicker of confusion crossed his features, and for a moment, I saw something akin to vulnerability buried within. Then he straightened, anger flaring in his eyes. "You may have delayed the inevitable, but mark my words," he hissed, his voice low. "I will return. And when I do, the truth will be far darker than you can fathom." With that warning resonating between us, he vanished into the shadows, leaving us alone in the eerie silence that followed. A silence so thick it felt as if it could swallow us whole. "Mom," my daughter whispered, her voice trembling. "What just happened?" I turned to her, heart pounding, and I knew the relief I felt was merely a thin veil over the truth we had yet to confront. "I don't know yet, but we're going to figure this out together." As the remnants of shadows began to dissipate, I took a deep breath, feeling the lingering chill of the man's warning wrap around me. We were not just battling our past, we were on the precipice of something monumental, and as we stepped away from the remnants of our encounter, I caught a glimpse of the locket, now dim but still pulsing with energy. Suddenly, heavy dread settled within me, a harbinger of the revelations we were destined to face. What would the truth entail? What sacrifice would it demand from us? There were no answers, only the crushing weight of unanswered questions that loomed as ominously as the shadows that had fled. But I knew one thing for certain: the absence of fear would not come without confronting the heart-wrenching legacy that clung like ivy around our family tree. As we walked forward, hand in hand, I felt the approaching echo of the judgment that awaited us, the kind of reckoning only those with a poignant grasp of their history would ever face. The battle had only just begun, and the reveal could shatter everything we held dear. The days that followed dragged on like a heavy fog, blurring the edges of reality as if we were trapped in a liminal space between dread and resilience. My daughter and I found ourselves navigating the aftermath of that chilling confrontation, our devotion to each other shining as a fragile beacon against the gathering storm of unanswered questions that we spent each evening poring over old family albums, the photographs, a bittersweet tapestry of our lineage, a collection of smiles and celebrations layered with unspoken grievances. It was an act of defiance, an attempt to reclaim the narrative that the shadows threatened to rewrite. Yet, every picture seemed haunted by the specter of our recent encounter. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages, anxiety gnawing at my insides as I searched for some thread of hope, some clue that might illuminate the darkness that loomed. "Look at this one, Mom," my daughter said softly, pointing to a picture of my sister, her vibrant smile just as I remembered it. I could still hear the laughter echoing in the air, the warmth of her presence, but now those memories were tinged with the unmistakable bite of loss. "Beautiful, wasn't she?" I murmured, losing myself in the wistfulness of the moment. "She had a light that drew everyone to her, but look at the date." My daughter leaned closer, tracing her fingertips over the faded ink. The date was the same as the day my sister disappeared, one that had marked the beginning of a long, dark journey for our family. A chill whispered through the air. "Do you remember anything else, from before?" she asked, her gaze locked on mine as if searching for clarity in the shadows of my memory. The swirling images flooded in the frantic efforts to find her, the whispered secrets shared in darkened corners, the weight of quiet grief that settled over our house like a shroud. "I remember bits and pieces," I admitted, the heaviness in my heart growing. "But it feels like trying to grasp smoke. Every time I reach for it, it slips away." A determined light ignited in her eyes. "Then we'll do it together. We can find out the truth, Mom. We're stronger now." Her voice was resolute, grounding me as I recalled the strength we had wielded against the shadows. But beneath her hopeful facade, I sensed a current of fear beneath the surface of her sweet demeanor. She was grappling with the remnants of our encounter too, and the truth waited like a ticking bomb between us, ready to erupt. The following week, as we sifted through more boxes of old family trinkets, we stumbled upon a locked chest hidden beneath the floorboards in the attic, an ordinary piece of furniture, but one that seemed to hum with an energy that made my skin prickle. It was covered in dust, its corners frayed. As we knelt before it, I felt my daughter's grip tighten on my arm. "What do you think is inside?" she whispered. "I don't know," I replied, swallowing hard, "but whatever it is, it's clearly important." She reached for the lock as I hesitated. Memories of my sister's warnings danced in the back of my mind, a tale woven with caution, laden with the understanding that some truths were never meant to surface. Still, I couldn't ignore the overwhelming need to confront the hidden pieces of our past. With a tentative flick of a wrist, the lock clicked open, and we opened the chest, the air thick with the scent of aged wood and memories long cloistered away. Inside, a collection of letters, yellowed and brittle, awaited us. They were addressed to my sister, hastily written and filled with a scrawl that tugged at the nerves in my gut. "Mom, these are from her," my daughter breathed, her eagerness morphing into apprehension as we examined the fragile pages. The first one began with a confession, the ink soaked with a desperation that felt too raw, too visceral. It spoke of secrets hidden for generations, a lineage plagued by darkness and the price of uncovering it. As we read together, we stumbled upon the name of the man who had threatened us, and my heart split open at the realization that he was a shadow of our past. He was my sister's dark obsession, a legacy entwined with betrayal and pain. "Mom, the more we find out, the more tangled this feels," my daughter said, her voice shaky as she scrutinized the letters. "Should we really keep digging?" Her question wound around my heart, squeezing it tightly. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. "Some truths, perhaps, are meant to stay buried. But we can't ignore where this darkness leads. It's demanding our attention." As if to fortify my resolve, a sudden gust of wind erupted from the attic's single small window. The letters fluttered wildly, their whispers echoing against the wood-paneled walls. "Maybe it's a sign," my daughter said, a quiver vibrating through her voice. "Mom, I can feel it. Whatever is lingering out there, we have to face it now." Just then, I heard a distant creaking, reverberating through the old house, a completely different sound from the ones we'd heard before. It was as if something was stirring, rising from the depths of our family's history, shaking the very foundations of our present. What was that? My daughter squeaked, eyes wide and searching my face for reassurance. That I don't know, I said, every fiber of my being tensing. But we should. Before I could complete the thought, the door to the attic swung open with a violent force, revealing the darkened corridor beyond. There, standing in the doorway, was a figure cloaked in shadows, a silhouette that made my blood run cold. Your search for the truth ends here, the voice echoed across the space, familiar and yet impossibly distorted. You've awakened what was meant to remain buried. An urgent thrill shot through me, and despite every instinct telling me to retreat, I stepped forward, both terrified and emboldened by my daughter's side. The confrontation we had long dreaded was unfolding once more. We'll find it, together, she whispered fiercely, squeezing my hand. But as the figure faded into the shadows, I felt the chilling realization wash over me. The darkness we sought to confront was more than just our family's story, it was a malevolence that wished to consume us both. We were standing at the crossroads, a disquieting truth spiraling towards us with no clear path ahead. My heart raced as I realized this was only the beginning of the reckoning, and the shadows of our past, angry and relentless, were ready to reclaim their hold over us. As I stood in the attic, my heart pounding fiercely against the weight of the looming shadows, I felt the urgency settle deep within my chest. The figure before us, a mere silhouette woven of darkness, served as a harbinger of the secrets we had been meticulously unearthing. She knows you, the figure hissed, its voice dripping with a malign familiarity that curled around my stomach in a tight knot. The past is not something to toy with, it is a tempest, waiting to be unleashed. My resolve teetered on the edge of fear and defiance, but I felt my daughter's presence beside me, a steadfast anchor against the storm gathering around us. You think you can intimidate us? I shot back, striving to pierce through the veil of darkness that threatened to suffocate me. We're done running. We want the truth. A laugh echoed through the attic, abrasive and chilling, reverberating off the wooden beams. Truth is often the most unbearable burden of all. The shadows swirled closer, pressing in as I caught a glimpse of faces emerging from the murky depths, anguished, desperate, and pleading, shadows I recognized from old photos. Mom, my daughter whispered, her eyes darting nervously to the encroaching darkness, what if it means something terrible? I swallowed hard, then turned fully to her, my heart aching at the sight of her worry. It already feels terrible, I admitted softly, squeezing her hand tighter. But we are strong enough to face whatever it is. With a deep breath, I stepped forward, resolute in our shared mission to confront the familial darkness. You're not a ghost or a voice trapped in the shadows. You're part of our familiar history we refuse to bury any longer. The figure faltered before me for a moment, its form wavering, as if unsure of its next move. You dare challenge the darkness? Very well, it growled, low and rumbling, but know this, each revelation comes with a price. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, cold tendrils snaking around us, clawing at our hearts, suppressing our breaths. Mom, help! My daughter cried, but I could see her courage flickering. No! I shouted, my voice cutting through the chilling grasp of despair. Let us go. We will not be trapped in the chains of your past. Fueled with adrenaline, I released my grip on her hand and grasped the locket, its soothing warmth pulsing against my palm. Sister, give us strength. I called out into the swirling darkness, surrendering to the heartache I had long avoided, and feeling the past slink closer, like a whispered memory aching to be heard. The shadows trembled, momentarily weakening against the reverberating echoes of hope I conjured. You are not lost, I continued, anguish spilling forth as realization dawned, you are a part of us, forever woven into the fabric of our existence. We didn't forget you, feared the burden of our truth. And in that moment, the memories poured forth from the locket, vibrant and loud, enveloping us in vivid hue. Slaughter and love ignited, briefly illuminating the shadows pressing against us. Visions of my sister's face twinkled in the dim light, bright and kind. Find your way back, her voice echoed like a melody woven through time, embedding courage into our hearts. I believe in you. The figure's form fractured, its shadows recoiling, growing smaller and unable to drown out our light. No, you cannot. It shrieked, panic threading through its distorted voice. We can. My daughter exclaimed, firing with newfound determination. We are the light that lives despite you. Our family is whole. Together, we surged forward, stepping into the brilliance of our heritage and rolling away the darkness like a storm-laden cloud. The attic erupted in a torrent of colors, memories unfurling and dancing as ancient chains shattered like glass, casting away centuries of despair. Suddenly, I felt a tug, a pull, as if the darkness was frantically trying to reverse the flow. I glanced around and saw the walls of the attic vibrate, undulating like a tremor beneath our feet. Mom! My daughter gasped, we're losing it. No! I shouted above the cacophony, digging into the faith that had ignited between us. To remember, to confront, and never forget. We will not allow it. We hold the truth in our hearts. And together, we thrust our voices into the air, the connection between us illuminating the dimness like a beacon. We are not afraid, we will not be lost, we are connected to those who came before. The shadows howled in defiance, but the grip of familiarity rewired the threads of our existence until all around us exploded in blinding light, illuminating everything we held dear, the connections that tied us directly through time in unbreakable bonds. And as we lingered in that incandescence, I felt it, the presence of my sister, no longer a specter bound by the chains of sorrow, but a guide illuminating our path forward. It all became clear, the weight of knowledge cascading into my mind as I turned to my daughter, both of us standing hand in hand as the roar of the past grew silent. We've broken the cycle, I whispered, brimming. The echoes can coexist with the light. And just like that, we emerged victorious from our confrontation, a whisper of hope and acceptance threading through our hearts as we stood, unshackled by the shadows waiting just outside. With a newfound resolve, I took a step towards the light, feeling a warmth envelop my heart. I turned back to look at my daughter, her smile radiant amidst the flickering remnants of darkness. Together, we'll continue to face whatever comes next. As we walked towards the unknown horizon together, I felt the whisper of my sister blending with the breeze, wrapping us in an embrace, reminding us that some truths, while painful, could heal the deepest of wounds. Always find your way back to the light, I murmured softly, knowing we would carry the weight of our family's legacy, and piecing together the fragments of truth would make us whole again. It's just the beginning, my daughter breathed beside me, a gentle reassurance woven through her optimism. And in that moment of clarity, with a past finally honored and hope lighting our path, I knew we were eternally bound, forging our own story anew in a house that would no longer be a prison, but a sanctuary of love. And as we stepped out into the dawn, our hearts elated, it felt as though I could almost hear the echoes of laughter trailing behind, sweet and untamed, a reminder of how far we had journeyed together, intertwined, the echoes of the past mingling seamlessly with a bright, radiant future. Together, I said softly, my heart swelling. Together, she echoed back, our voices rising as we faced the horizon, forever stepping towards the light, unbreakable, resilient, and very much alive.